Hello, and welcome to the Three Uniques podcast. I'm your host, Brenda. I'm a life and leadership coach, ready to help you unleash your uniqueness, align to your purpose, and take massive action towards your goals. I'm a single mom and a purpose-led believer. My mission is to maximize human potential, and I do this through my one-to-one group and retreat coaching experiences. Learn more about my upcoming retreats and group masterminds by checking out 3uniquescoaching.com. Now, our guest on the 3 Uniques podcast. Good morning, friends. How's everyone doing? Happy Sunday, happy weekend. I wanted to jump on today and do one of my mini training sessions. So this past week, I have done 3 so far, and I'm doing one today on quiet quitting and burning out. And then I'm doing one tomorrow on being coached and what that looks like. This is all part of the work that I do inside of Unleashing Your Uniqueness, which is my 3-month coaching experience. I'm so happy to get started with the group that is already starting to form. It's actually this week, this Friday, we start our first live call. I was thinking it was next week. I'm still kind of on last week's schedule because tomorrow's Monday. And so, we're getting started on Friday and I'm super excited. There's still time to join. And even after our live session that's going to be starting on Friday, I'm still going to keep the cart open because I know that, well, number one, I'll be recording all the live sessions and so people can join on. And the cool thing about Unleashing Your Uniqueness is that it's a 3-month program that you're working with me alongside these live coaching sessions within the group. But then you get access to the content for like a lifetime. It's legacy content. So you get to access it whenever you need to. You can go through the modules and the videos and the learning activities at your own pace. And as I upgrade the content over the years, you'll get the most updated version. So it's a really cool program and I'm excited for you to be a part of it. There's really 7 main concepts that I take people through in Unleashing Your Uniqueness. The first one being all about defining, honing in on what makes you unique, and then designing your vision to help support your uniquenesses. Within that, you clarify your purpose, your values, because I think those things are really important to help you make decisions and help set priorities. And then we start building on your goals. There are 3 things that I always sort of look at that might get in the way of you really putting in those foundations in place for yourself. Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining. And those are recognizing those limiting beliefs that sometimes pop up, releasing the money blocks because sometimes we don't want to take on those big goals because we think it's going to cost too much, or I don't have enough money saved, or who am I to ask to bring in this type of money into my life? And so we definitely need to release some of those blocks. And then the third area that I see all too often coming up with my clients is setting those healthy boundaries, right? So when we don't have clear boundaries in place, we often get leaks in our relationships where we're being asked, we're getting requests to do things, we're saying yes to them, and they're not necessarily aligned to our purpose, our values, our vision, and our goals for our life. So we'll definitely work on building out those skills around how to set clear boundaries. So today, one of the things I wanted to talk about was quiet quitting or burning out. And I'm lumping the 2 topics together, although they are a little bit distinct. I see them kind of being interchanged or used simultaneously in conversations, especially what I see in the media right now. We're talking about this great resignation, and then we're hearing about quiet quitting or quiet firing. I'm still hearing this ongoing conversation, especially when it comes to women in the workplace, around burning out. Not to say that men don't burn out as well, but I'm definitely hearing a lot around juggling things and then choosing to self-care for themselves, but then feeling that they have to give up that promotion or that new project that they really want to take on. And so women feeling that they're pulled in both directions, where it's like, I want to develop my career or develop my business, but at the same time, I'm being pulled in this direction to do this, to help myself from burning out. And then it's this sort of quiet quitting, right? Where it's just like, I'm going to quit my goals. I'm going to quit the path that I'm on in order to kind of, recharge myself, which can be okay, I think, day to day or from a week to standpoint. But I'm seeing it going on year to year. There are a lot of women, and this is just sort of my observation, but even just talking to people that have been displaced through work over the last 6-12 months, even over the last 2 years during the pandemic, where maybe their industry or their business shut down or were doing mass layoffs, or they decided to leave their career and not gone back yet, or just sort of taken the next best thing. And so whatever you need to do, obviously, to pay your rent or pay your mortgage. Like, I get that. At the same time, though, I really want to encourage women leaders and entrepreneurs to step back into their purpose, really hone in what their vision is for the next 10 years of their life, and set those goals and take massive action towards their goals. So here's one of the things that I've observed, and I know this to be true just because I tend to geek out a lot about neuroscience research and understanding about how our primitive brain, like that reptilian brain at the back of our skull, versus the prefrontal cortex, the high quality thinking part of our brain, operates. Our primitive brain loves instant gratification. And one of the things that I think we need to be aware of when we're in that space of like burning out, or even contemplating sort of like quitting our careers or quitting that project or quitting that health plan that we've got in place, like just quitting our goals in general, relationships, is that our primitive brain works around this sort of motivational triad. And there's 3 elements that sort of make up this motivational triad. The first one is that our brain loves to conserve energy. If it can do the same things every single day without putting too much energy into it, it's happy. So for example, as like a human being, as a mammal, as a primate on the planet, we eat, we sleep, we poop. Those are kind of like and we maybe move our body every now and then. But even still, our brain would love to not necessarily move our body as much as we want. So I think that's just sort of one thing to sort of recognize, is that within that sort of makeup of our motivational triad and how the primitive brain operates, because it's always looking for instant gratification, one of the things that it will do is it will conserve its energy. So it's not necessarily looking for a new, different, brighter, challenging way of doing something. It's going to go back to, how did we brush our teeth yesterday? How did we floss our teeth yesterday? Let's just keep doing that to create those habits. The second thing that makes up the motivational triad is avoiding pain, right? Like, our body does not like to avoid pain. We know this because our nervous system, the limbic system, is set up to detect pain, to detect harm. So, going again back to those sort of primate days of like saber-toothed tiger coming into our cave, we've got a couple options as a human race to survive. We either fight the tiger, we either flee from the tiger, we either freeze and hopefully the tiger sniffs us and walks by, or, there was a fourth one, fawn, which might not be too relevant. It's more sort of a newer one. It might not be too relevant to like when we were living in caves and fighting off saber-toothed tigers, but admiring the tiger, right? Like, we don't want to admire a tiger when it's hungry, because we're the food. It's admiring us. So our brain is naturally programmed to avoid pain, right? And that's why it gets into this sort of repeat patterning. It's called neural pathways. They're like literally grooves or roadways in our brain that love patterns, love repetition. So if we have a goal, if we're setting an intention for ourselves and we tend to fall flat halfway through, we get distracted, chances are we were doing that the last time we were setting a goal, or even around the same goal, right? So maybe it's like, I want to start dating again. I want to get into a relationship again, but I keep, not following through with the dates. I, connect with people online. We get into a conversation. When it comes time to meeting up to go for a coffee, I make excuses why I can't go for coffee. So there's a pattern there, right? It likes that familiarity to avoid potential pain. Because the pain could be, well, I could go to the date, they don't like me, or I don't like them, now I'm back at the beginning again. That might be painful for some, right? So 2 things out of the motivational triad that we know right now: our primitive brain loves to conserve energy and it loves to avoid pain. And then the third thing, because it loves that instant gratification, is that it's always seeking pleasure. Okay, so pleasure, and I'm not saying like we should avoid pleasure. No, I'm all for pleasure. But I think recognizing that there's those neurotransmitters that operate. So these are hormonal releases in our brain. So there's neurons in our brain, like just pretend these are neurons, and there's synapses. The neurons don't connect directly, but there's synapses between the neurons. This is, again, brain geekiness. Love it. Where there are neurotransmitters, hormones being released to connect those neurons. And one of the hormones that we should be aware of is cortisol, right? So cortisol is about seeking pleasure. Cortisol actually gets activated in our body when there's the anticipation of a reward. So not exactly when we get the reward, but it's that anticipation of a reward, right? So it's like even, I'm going to go to my favorite restaurant tonight. It's a French restaurant and they make this amazing chocolate mousse. And so I'm all excited all day long. I'm like getting ready. I'm texting my friends. I can't wait for the chocolate mousse. And then when I get the chocolate mousse, it feels really good. But then, what I was really jonesing for was that anticipation of the chocolate mousse. When I eat the chocolate mousse, it's like, yeah, it might taste good and it's satisfying, but guess what? I need another reward. I need another dope of cortisol to make me feel good. So recognizing cortisol, I'm just focusing on that one as a neurotransmitter. I talk about them all the time. So if you have questions about neurotransmitters, drop them in the comments. But again, that motivational triad, the way our brain, our primitive brain works, it's there to conserve energy, it's there to avoid pain, and it's there to seek pleasure. So when we're thinking about quiet quitting and burning out, it's like if we are burning out, well, we're going to conserve our energy. We're going to avoid as much pain as possible. Like even the idea of burning out could be, well, why am I burning out, right? What am I noticing about myself? Oh, I'm not sleeping enough. I'm taking on too many projects. I'm saying yes to too many things that aren't aligned to my vision. Recognizing that can be sometimes painful. And so our brain will try and shut that down. And then the third thing in that motivational triad is seeking pleasure. So seeking pleasure, I'm not knocking pleasure, but also recognize that there's other ways to get pleasure. So I talked about that cortisol is a great hormone that helps us get excited about the potential reward, the anticipation of a reward. Oh, I'm glad you find this helpful, Amanda. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And I'm glad that you find it helpful, and ask questions for sure in the chat. I'd love to answer more of them. So remembering that cortisol is there around, like it gets released in our body, and it feels good when it gets released because it's that anticipation of a reward. So I'm excited about going to the French restaurant to get the chocolate mousse, and it's that like cortisol that's being released in my body all day long because I'm excited. There's other ways to get that release without, purging down on the chocolate mousse. It could be, going for a walk in nature. It could be watching a comedy show. I just did some light cardio this morning before I jumped on this live. That's why I was a couple minutes late. And that releases cortisol. So there's natural ways to also release cortisol versus like indulging ourselves in those pleasures like red wine and Doritos, my favorite. So it feels good in the moment, but then I feel bad about myself because I drank red wine and I ate Doritos for dinner, right? So it's just giving yourself a break when you know that these things happen. And that's just how our primitive brain works. So again, reasons why you might be quiet quitting, reasons why you might be burning out at work right now. One is we don't understand how the primitive brain works and this motivational triad that our brain operates around. And it's okay. Like I think I didn't realize this, and I'm learning it more and more as I learn more about neuroscience, how our limbic system works, how the brain works, how it just operates the same way every single day. And all of our brains are slightly different, right? We know that about people. We know about neurodiversity. And so understanding how your system works, right, is going to be really key. And just got a point in here. For the recent 3 weeks, I have been pushing myself through quiet quitting. I'm halfway to the end of a year goal, and I don't know why I'm feeling discouraged and not being immersed in the joy of the journey. Love this, Nanda. Because here's the thing, we just push through, right? We push through as a human race. And I'm going to say to you, here's one thing that I love to give my clients as a tip, if you're okay with this advice, is take some time out every week to celebrate your wins. I see this so much in organizations where it's like we just go from project to project to project, initiative. I worked in healthcare, and there would be literally 85 corporate initiatives spread across different departments. These are strategic initiatives that supposedly make us like a really great healthcare provider. And underneath all of those initiatives would have been like 5 to 10 goals. And I'm just like, oh my God, how do we stay focused on these things? So my recommendation would be just even as a quick little hit, because you've got we've got less than 3 months on the year, and I want you to complete this goal and I want you to feel good about it, right? And you probably do too. So check in on Friday. One of the things I do is I bookend my week. So Monday mornings, I always look at my upcoming week. I look at where I've made promises and commitments, where people have requested their time of me, and I just reinforce to myself that yes, this is where I want to be. It's a really great way for me to set those healthy boundaries. It's just Monday morning, I take half an hour out. It's time blocked into my calendar. Some people may not want that much structure, but I love time blocking because I will forget. Again, remembering my primitive brain will just want instant gratification. And to me, that's just boring. Why do I want to do that? But it helps set me up for the week. So I spend half an hour just going through my calendar, looking at where I've made my commitments, where people have made requests of me. Do I still want to honor those? In the past, I used to have to do a lot of backpedaling because I made a lot of promises to people that I never really wanted to follow through on. And it was never aligned to my purpose and my vision, my values and my goals. And I was just saying yes to people please. So I ended up disappointing a lot of people. But then I got out of that because I got used to doing this routine where it's like, okay, what's my vision? What are my goals? What am I saying yes to? And I can say no. I can counter offer. I can commit to commit. Right? So there's different types of responses I can give to people versus an automatic yes. So that would be one thing. Okay, good. I'm glad that you do time blocking. Some people are into it. Some people think it's too much structure. I just put those things in there. I time block my Monday morning calendar review. I time block lunch every single day, even on weekends, just to make sure that I take that time. Because sometimes I get into that powerhouse, I got to still do stuff around the house on Saturday, and it'll be like 3:00 and I realized I haven't had lunch yet. And I'm not that fun to be around when I'm hangry. So I just time block those things. And then Friday, so here's the bookend piece. So Monday, I start out with the first bookend of looking at my calendar. And then Friday, 2:00, like clockwork, for 15 minutes, I ask myself these 3 questions. And this might be helpful for you, Nanda, is what did I love about this week? What did I learn this week? And what made me strong? Okay, really simple. Love, learn, strong. And I ask myself those 3 questions. It's not there to beat myself up or to criticize myself, because you can see all 3 of those questions are really uplifting. They're all about potential. What did I learn this week? Oh, I learned that I double book myself over lunch hour. Okay, what do you want to do next week? I want to weed off some of my meetings. What did I love about this week? I love the fact that I got to bed earlier. I went to bed at like 9:30 instead of pushing it to 10:15. And with that extra sleep, I was able to get up earlier and do my workouts. What made me strong this week? I did my workouts. It's just going to be that simple. And I like to do simple tools, and I'm glad that you like that, Nanda, and hopefully everyone else takes me up on that offer. It's really simple. You start noticing things, right? So if you're hoping for, again, brain, instant gratification the first Friday you do it, that's not going to really make too much of a difference. It might feel good. Or if you're like, well, I've been doing this now for 6 weeks and I'm not noticing a change. Please trust me that it is changing things. Neural pathways take a long time. Depending on how long you've been on this planet, I've been here for 52 years, I have to work on things a lot longer than, say, my 18-year-old daughter. So, she can work on something and, I can see transformations with her over 3 months, 6 months. Me, sometimes it takes like 3 years, 6 years. Like I'm working at it, right? So I think it's just love, learn, strong. No, and there's no scorecard to it, right? There's no criticism to it. There's no feedback around it. The insight is, how does it feel in your body when you start recognizing that you're making transformations and you're making shifts?
Hi friends, it's Brenda here. I hope you're enjoying our podcast guest today on the 3 Uniques podcast. I wanted to interrupt the interview for a couple seconds to let you know about Aligned AF. Aligned AF is my 12-month coaching experience for leaders and entrepreneurs up to big goals in their life, ready to step into their 3 Uniques, and fully aligning their life to their purpose. Imagine yourself living an intentional, values-driven life that aligns all domains: professional, personal, health, wealth, and community impact. You're generating a 6-figure and a multi-6-figure business within your first year. You're learning to love every failure and approaching new goals with possibility, energy, and love. You're unlocking your potential and overcoming your limiting beliefs in a short period of time. And you're shifting yourself from looking ahead to looking within to consider your choices, your values, and most of all, your purpose. You're identifying barriers, examining their origins, and recognizing and celebrating the range of unique skills and experiences you possess to propel you forward. You're building healthy relationships and routines, setting boundaries around the things, people, ideas that drain you without feeling guilty. If you're interested in learning more about Aligned AF, my 12-month coaching experience for leaders and entrepreneurs, check out 3uniques.com for more details on the Aligned AF coaching experience or other coaching experiences and working with me. Take care, everyone, and now back to our guest.
Okay, so motivational triad, just to kind of summarize, it's made up of conserving energy, avoiding pain, and seeking pleasure. And our primitive brain, this reptilian brain that we're all equipped with as mammals, it all operates a little bit differently, person to person. So if you're a leader of people, understand that. How does your brain work? How does your nervous system work? And ask your people to do the same thing. Not that they need to report back to you and say, oh, this is how my nervous system works, but they need to be aware so that as you guys are working together on projects and collaborating together, it's like you're bringing your strengths forward, right? And people will say, you know what, I'm going to sign up for this, Brenda, but I'm not going to sign up for that. I'm not that great at it. Sally's really better at it. Okay, awesome, right? Because at the end of the day, it's just about getting the work done and feeling good about it, and learning and growing and getting stronger. It's not about, oh, Sally's better at it and then therefore Brenda's not that great. It's like, let's not get into that type of performance management. Okay, so the first thing why you might be quite quitting is we're not understanding how our primitive brain works and how it revolves around this motivational triad. And once we understand that, we might start seeing some shifts on where this burnout is coming from. Okay, second thing is why you might be burning out or quiet quitting. You're not feeding your prefrontal cortex. Okay, so it's still a little bit more around brain science here. And what I mean by feeding your prefrontal cortex. So your prefrontal cortex, there's 3 sections to the brain. There's the reptilian brain at the back, which we already talked about, really is kind of like helping us function. It's connected to our limbic system through the vagus nerve that goes, it's a nerve that goes all the way down our spinal cord and connects to all of our visceral organs. So it keeps this whole machine working, okay? And it all works a little bit differently person to person. And then we've got the amygdala, which is in the second part of our brain. And our amygdala is there to react to triggers, sensations, right? And it decides, should we be focusing our thoughts on our prefrontal cortex or reverting back to our primate brain and going into that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So what I want to encourage you or invite you into doing is feed the prefrontal cortex, which is the third part of the brain. It's our most underdeveloped part of our brain as a species. Okay, I'm not saying you personally, you're underdeveloped. I'm just saying as a species, as a primate or mammal group. So comparing us again to other mammals on the planet, it's the most underdeveloped, but it's one of the largest parts of our brain for mammals, like in the sort of hierarchy of mammals on the planet. Okay, we've got the biggest part of it. Animals, my dog has a very small part. Okay, what you feed your prefrontal cortex with is your vision. Okay, the future focus of your life. You make decisions, you manage your priorities, you say yes, you get into commitment based off of your future focus, the vision that you've written for your life. As I talked about before, if you're not putting your decision-making, your prioritizing, your saying yes and commitments towards your future focus, your brain as a default will go back to the past. Okay, so you could be, wanting to be present today, but if you don't have a future focus of what it looks like to lead people, what it looks like to manage your business, what does it look like to be in a loving relationship with your kids, what does it look like to be debt-free and investing in your stock portfolio? If you do not have that vision set out for yourself, your brain will default to the past because, again, it's looking to conserve energy, avoid pain, and seek pleasure. Okay, so you need to feed that prefrontal cortex. You need to write a vision for yourself. You need to sit down and say, in 10 years, if this is me, it will be October 2033, and I will be 62 years old. I am living here. I'm spending time with these people doing what? This is happening in my business. This is happening with my kids. Although I'm not writing my vision for my kids. They write their own vision. But this is how I'm spending time with my kids. We're traveling together. We're doing this together. We're spending holidays. And they're also doing things in their own life because my kids will be fully formed adults by that time. This is what I'm doing with my partner. I'd love to say this is what I'm doing with Sadie, my dog, but Sadie is she probably won't be around when she's 18. She's a golden retriever and they usually live until they're 12 or 14, but I'll have another golden retriever. And what am I doing with that dog? Because I love Goldens and I always have to have Goldens in my life. So when I now make decisions about where I'm spending my time, who I'm spending my time with, who's on my schedule for next week, is it aligned to my future focus, or does my schedule get dictated from my past? How I've always scheduled, how I've always done work, how I've always agreed to do things, how I've always like coached people. So think about that. Feed your prefrontal cortex, right? Like spoon feed it. Big human scoop of your future focus. You'll make decisions clearer. You'll set your priorities based off of your future focus, and you'll make commitments to people and yourself, first and foremost, towards your future focus. If you're telling me right now that you have no time to focus in on your health, what does your wisest self, your 10-year-old self, not 10 years like when you were a kid, but 10 years plus self say about your health? How is she living? How is he like moving his body? What are they eating? How are they sleeping? They will tell you what your health is going to look like. And then today, make that choice to live that life now versus defaulting to how you were sleeping, eating, in relationships yesterday. Okay, my third thing that is getting in the way of you, or why you might be quiet quitting and burning out, is, and here's a controversial topic, life is 50-50, okay? We are striving as human beings to change that. We want to think that life, like our life is 100%, right? And I want you to entertain the fact that life is 50-50. To celebrate happiness, we need to know sadness. To honor confidence, we need to know fear. To take initiative, we need to have doubt. Like we need to have those countervailing emotions, fears, judgments, worries, good, evil. They need to exist on the planet together. Life is 50-50, right? And life can't just be all good, all roses, all sunshine. Because then when we do get confronted, because it's not reality, there is evil on the planet. There is sadness on the planet. We see this in nature, right? A flower blooms and a flower dies. And it dies back and then it reblooms the next year. And sometimes, if you're a gardener, especially with perennials, you'll get more flowers back. Like I love irises, peonies in the spring. And I go to my stepmother's home, and she's been planting irises and peonies for the last 20 years. And they're massive bunches in her garden, right? You go and plant one iris today, you'll get maybe 1 or 2 flowers next year. But if you let it continually grow, you're going to get more and more flowers. Yes, does more die back in the fall or in summer when irises aren't blooming anymore? Absolutely. But this is what we see in nature. And we deny that as human beings. We need to be fully having this amazing, happy life all the time. Everything needs to be in high engagement. We see this in businesses. Employees need to be engaged all the time. Ooh, your engagement rate's only 30%. Okay, well, maybe you've got some work to do. But the reality is that we need to have the pluses and the minuses to appreciate when the happiness or the fulfillment or the joy or the wins or the successes come along, that we truly value them. And like the advice I was giving to Nanda earlier, take some time out at the end of the week to talk about what you loved, learned, and what made you strong, right? So that you recognize those great things. And when good things are happening to you, that you celebrate them. Because I think we sometimes take for granted, or we just think that everything needs to be happy, and that when things don't necessarily go well, it's really bad. Versus if we approach that life is 50-50. With every happiness, there will be sadness. In order for me to recognize what makes me happy, I need to go through sadness sometimes. So, and I'm not saying I wish evil or sadness or unhappiness on people. Please don't go down that road. I just think that we need to be realistic, that as human beings on the planet, we are connected. We are energy, a part of this planet. Look to animals, look to nature. Things are born, things die. We need to have both in order to have that flow balance in the way we operate in our systems. So right now, if you have a perception or belief that your life has to be 100% fulfilling, joyful, happy all the time, I want to say to you, maybe your goals aren't big enough. Okay, you might be playing it a little safe. You might be in your comfort zone, and you might be keeping it really happy. And I'm going to ask you, invite you, challenge you to step up your goals, to look at your vision for the next 10 years and say, hey, you know what? I've been playing it kind of safe right now. I'm in a relationship with my partner and we haven't connected spiritually, emotionally, physically in the last 5 years. that might not be good. What does your future self tell you? Does your future self tell you that, hey, you want to be in a loving relationship with intimacy and passion and love with your partner? And right now you're not? Well, let's get to work. Let's get to work on those things. And yes, it may seem a little scary. And there may be the fear of rejection, right? Or the fear of embarrassment that may come up. But now you're alive. You're feeling all of life, not just the good stuff, right? Not just the platitudes, not just the airbrushed Instagram image. We're feeling all of alive. We're feeling all of our life, and we're feeling all of the emotions. That's the beauty of being human. We're equipped with all these emotions. So feel it. And the reason why we might be experiencing this burnout is that when we get confronted with the doubt, the fear, the judgment, we may have been playing it a little safe. Or we've got this scorecard that if our life isn't 100% happy, joyful, engaging, fulfilling every single day, that there's something wrong with us. And then we go into judgment, doubt, worry, and we don't know how to pull ourselves out of it. Okay? So entertain that thought. I know it's a little bit controversial. And I'm not saying go out there and seek pain. But I'm just saying maybe your goals aren't big enough. And so up them a little bit. And then notice. Take time out. Do your self-reflection at the end of the week. What did I love? What made me strong? What did I learn? And notice in your body, when I take on bigger goals, when I take on bigger commitments, when I show up more, how does it feel? Oh, I feel a little bit like I'm doubting myself. Why is that? Right? But if you're learning and you're loving things and you're making you strong, you can now start telling your brain, your primitive brain that's looking for that instant gratification, that it's okay. I got it. I'm in a good spot. I want to take on this challenge. I want to embrace a little bit of fear, because when I know I embrace a little bit of fear, I build my confidence. Or, you know what? I failed at something because I tried it and it was a tough goal and I tried it and now I'm sad because I failed, but I'm going to try it again and I'm going to be successful and that's going to make me happy. So it's like you get both. You get all ranges of emotion, and it's a beautiful thing versus denying yourself access to those things. Okay, so I also promised, if you were tuning in and knew that this was coming, so I talk about why potentially you're quiet quitting or burning out, and then how to work through it. I've given you a few hows, right? Like doing those reflections at the end of the week. Love, learn, strong. Second thing is set clear goals for yourself, right? And we set clear goals from the future. We don't set goals from the past. We don't set goals from, okay, well, and here's an example. Like maybe you did a project and it failed, right? You launched something in your business. You, tried to do something at work and it failed. Didn't get the results that you want. Your boss even told you, hey, you know what? We didn't get the results that we wanted from that new customer product line. Great. I don't want you to go back and take that situation and make it better and set a new goal in it. I want you to get into your future, right? So this is where your vision comes in. And now I want you to visualize into the future that new product, that new offer, that new project that you're working on is successful, has launched really well. Customers are coming out of the woodwork. Clients are telling you, way to go. Staff are like, woo, you're amazing, right? And what does that feel like in your body? And now what do you need to do to act on it? That becomes your new goals, okay? So you always set goals from the future, not from the past. Not even from a process improvement standpoint. Like do the process improvement conversation, get the learnings, right? Understand maybe where you weren't successful. Learn from that, get that insight, and now set a new goal, a new intention based off the future with that project working out. And then what I want you to do is ask yourself, so once you set those goals, I want you to ask yourself, why would you quit this goal or get burned out from this goal? So I want you to anticipate the potential obstacles of doing this goal. So now that you're all like bought into it and you're jazzed about it, not to be like doomsday, but I do kind of want you to do that. I want you to feel what it would feel like in your body that if you quit this goal midway through or got burned out from this goal. What would it feel like? What would the thoughts be that you would be generating? And now I want you to build that into also your goal. I want you to anticipate those obstacles that are going to come up versus just going in there going, smooth sailing, I got this. Because the reality is that doubt will come up. Fear will come up. Judgment will come up. Those emotions will come up if you're living your life 50-50. So don't shock your nervous system. Don't send your brain in a tizzy. Start introducing the fact that these obstacles may come up and that you've also got some contingencies planned. I know that when I work on these type of goals, I get super tunnel vision. I don't connect in with my colleagues. I don't meet with my boss as much. I tend to work late, work until 11 o'clock on my laptop in front of the TV and binge Netflix on the weekend. Okay, what do I need to do? Right? And it doesn't get me the results that I want. I need to make sure that I'm at least checking in with my boss once a week. I need to have a team meeting with everyone on the project at least every Friday morning for 15 minutes, or I got to practice Scrum and meet with them for 15 minutes every day, Monday through Friday, whatever that is, right? And it's you anticipate what those obstacles are and you put those in place to help you support yourself with the goal. Now, it may not figure out everything. I'm not saying that you have to figure out every single obstacle or red flag that's going to come, but at least one or two to get you started so that you can recognize those things. And then do your daily downloads, right? What are the thoughts? What are the feelings that I'm having? I talk about this a lot, right? So it's at the end of the day, what thoughts are coming up about my day? What feelings, how are they registering for me in my body? And how does that feel? And then what actions do I want to take? Notice where you're aligned. Your goals are aligned continually with your vision. If you're seeing that there's a misalignment, again, course correct and figure out what it needs to be and celebrate, right? So at minimum, if you're doing that weekly bookend, Love, Learn, Strong, you're going to catch some things. You know what? I'm loving the fact that these daily meetings with the team are working out and we're on the right track. I love the fact that I'm shutting off my laptop at 7 o'clock at night versus 11 o'clock at night. And I get to spend more time with my partner. So recognize those things, celebrate them, enjoy the wins. That's it, you guys. That's it for today. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the session today, jumping in live, adding your comments. As I mentioned earlier at the very start, I am launching my 3-month coaching program experience. I like to call it experience versus program. I don't know why I defaulted to that. See, old thinking. It's called Unleashing Your Uniqueness. Hey Sharon, good to see you. It takes place over October, November, and December. We work together live in groups. And then there's additional material that you can download yourself, that you can work on at your own pace. It's legacy content, so you get access to it even after the 3 months of us working together in our live coaching sessions. And yeah, there's great videos, downloadable material, exercises, similar to kind of what we just talked about now, but you working through it. And there's an opportunity in our Slack community group to reach out to me sort of during office hours and ask questions and dive deeper into the content. So if you're interested in learning more about unleashing your uniqueness, you can DM me after our session today or watching the replay. You can also head to the link in my bio, and then you can go directly to the sales page. You can sign up. There's all the information there as far as what's included, how it works, when we will be having our calls, all the sort of FAQ stuff that you may have. But again, reach out to me directly and I'm happy to answer your questions. So thanks for joining today and hearing more about quiet quitting and burnout and why these things might be happening for you and some of the suggestions that I have about how to work through it. Take care and have a good rest of your weekend.
Hi, friends. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's guest on the 3 Uniques podcast. As always, we really appreciate your time and your commitment to listening to our guests every week. And we'd love for you to be able to share this podcast with others and encourage other people to get out there and share their 3 Uniques. So please take a few moments to share this podcast, leave a review, and let us know what you think. And also let us know who you'd like to hear more from, what type of guests you want us to bring on for future podcast interviews. Thanks so much. Remember, get out there and share your 3 Uniques. There's 7.5 billion people on this planet, and somebody needs what you've got. Take care, friends.